Canadian broadcaster, your new favorite feature. Oh, yeah.
Hey, welcome back to July, middle of July. I know already, right? It's not, just slow down, everybody. It's just going by way too fast. It's Dave. Glad to be with you. It's Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine update for July 15th, middle of the month. This is where we get together, talk about the magazine, add a few more things that we would like to chat about around Canadian podcasting. I've got a few additional things that are not found in the magazine, but top of mind in the month of July. And I'm excited to be here with you. So thanks for being here. Thanks for pressing play. If this is your first time here, make sure to go to CanadianPodcaster.com. You can see our virtual magazines. They're there for you. Totally free, no funnel, no subscription required, none of that. It's there for you, and it's there for you to share as well. The goal is to help you fall in love with Canadian content creators, podcasters, and add some new podcasts to your list of episodes to listen to. This is why we're here, to celebrate Canadian voices. It's Canada's birthday month, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. I'm Dave. Here we go. So one of the shows I've been listening to at work, and it's been keeping me company, which I really love, it's a podcast based in a shed in Northern Ontario. And Holly is the host of the show. And from time to time, her amazing son joins her in the shed virtually from Toronto as she's up north. And they chat about all things creative. And they talk to great people who are authors and all different things from all different around the world. And the one common factor is they have one thing in common, and that is they love pets. They love their dogs, their cats, and whatever. And there's stories about how pets and how animals influence your creativity. So they cover both, and I think it's pretty unique. So I wanted to share a little bit from the show here. We're going to feature this podcast in August as well. So we'll come back to this again in August and on the 15th of August. But I heard this episode and they were talking to a podcaster, which we featured here in the past, who's on a mission in the month of July into August to travel this big world of ours here in Canada and do some stops, talk podcasting, meet the audience, and you can be a part of this and help support this podcaster as they travel. We'll have links for everything in the show notes. Please go and support them. They have costs involved in driving and gas and rental of an RV. There's a lot of stuff going on. So if you can help, that'd be great. But the podcast is really, really fun, and you really need to check it out. The show is called Ramblings from the Little Shed, and the host is Holly B. And Holly is amazing, really fun to listen to. And I'll have links for everything in the show notes. But I got a little clip for you. She had a fellow Canadian podcaster on, like I mentioned, who's traveling across Canada this month and into August. And they were chatting about his journey and his pet, who's taking along on the journey as well. So here we go. Here's a little taste of the show and what they talked about. Holly.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ramblings from the Little Shed. I am your host, Holly B., and my special guest, Craig, Canadian Craig, fellow Canuck. Can you walk us through what you're about to embark on?
Yeah, so what I'm going to be doing is beginning on Tuesday, June 30th, I'm going to be leaving on a cross-country trip. I'm going to go from my home outside Edmonton all the way to Nova Scotia, turn around and go all the way to BC, and turn around and go back up to my home in Edmonton. It's going to take about 52 days to do the entire thing. I've planned it out, and it's kind of a really big project because I'm trying to do a lot of video and podcast work along the way to kind of show people how great Canada is, in terms of traveling. Because a lot of people, they'll go to Mexico or they'll go somewhere else, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But there's so much in Canada that you can see. Like if you're interested in history, the farther east you go, the more history you get. And there's so much that you can see in Canada, the landscape and everything. So I want to show people what you can find when you get off the highway and you get to the side roads and the small town and the small museums. And, I've always said that the best meal you can get is not in the city. It's some diner in a small town you'll get the best burger you've ever had
You
for
bet.
whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's definitely the case. And so I really want to just kind of do that. I did a little bit of it last year, but I found when I was doing it, I was just sleeping in my car or just in a tent in campgrounds. But it would still cost me like $100 a day just to, campground fees,
Yeah.
firewood, gas. So I didn't do as much as I wanted, but I still covered about 6,000 kilometers. So this year, 17,000 kilometers, and I started planning way back. I started fundraising, looking for sponsors to kind of make this whole thing.
So there you go. If you want to help Greg on his journey with his dog Burton as they travel 17,000 kilometers, wow, that's a long time to be on the road. Then definitely check out the links in the show notes. Go check out Craig's podcast as well. If you love history and Canadian history specifically, you'll love his show. If you happen to be in and around wherever he is at the moment, make sure you look for him. Track him down and get a selfie. Give Burton some space because apparently Burton needs a little bit of space from humans that he doesn't know, his dog. But I know that Craig would love to meet you, and make sure that you support a fellow Canadian packing on the kilometers this summer. It's amazing, right? Okay. I'd like to know too now how your Canada Day was. Was it eventful? It was weird this year, right? A Wednesday, Canada Day, right smack in the middle of the week. Like, what do I do with that? And anyways, it was also America's 250th as well. And that's amazing for our American friends that listen to this show and follow the Canadian Podcaster Online magazine. Hello, I see you out there. Congratulations to our American friends on their 250th. A lot of interesting things happened in July. And another part of this too is one of my friends online, his name is Junaid Ahmed. He created a thing called PodGlue. PodGlue is a tool for podcasters that's going to really help you with some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that you do in your podcast. And for most of us, we don't have a team of 20. We don't have big budgets. We don't have any kind of money coming in directly to support our show. So we're looking for ways to streamline, to make our podcast easier, more efficient, easier to produce, easier to release and promote. And Junaid has got a great thing called PodGlue. It's something that you can really, stick with to make your podcast be sticky. Yeah. Anyways, it's Junaid's new baby, something he created for us as podcasters. And I caught an episode where Junaid was guesting on another show, talking about why PodGlue was created, the rationale behind it, what it does for podcasters. There's a link in the show notes. It's the video version, which is helpful because they do screen shares and they put stuff up on the screen. So it's helpful visually to see what he's talking about. But Junaid is such a great guy. Over at PodGlue, links in the show notes. And I'd love for you to go watch the interview. And here's a little snippet of that where Junaid talks about kind of why he created PodGlue in the first place and what he's hoping to solve for podcasters through PodGlue. Here's Junaid.
After 700 interviews, more than 700, what pattern kept showing up that made you think somebody needs to fix this issue? What's the pattern that you saw?
The number one pattern that kept showing is that the first thing that you have to realize is that you're spending an uninterrupted time with the person across the chair for 1 hour without interruption. Sometimes your kid might be knocking on the door, right? Sometimes you got that coming. But that 1 hour of conversation, you're building a relationship. You're opening up, you're telling stories that you've never told anywhere else because you're in a safe place. And what that did is I started seeing myself and other people. I was like, my God, he's gone through the same journey that I'm going through right now. And so every great episode started to build a real relationship. You and I, we've been on each other's podcasts multiple times. We've met different places. Yeah. But it all started because we took the time to build that relationship. Now, what most people won't realize is that when that recording stops, that relationship evaporates because there's no system for it. There's no memory of it. there's a little bit of a memory. I mean, maybe a YouTube video, maybe a podcast. But those hundreds of meaningful talks turn into one-off transactions. I was at episode 400. My brother-in-law was like, "So you had 400 hours of conversation with 400 people?"
400.
I was like, I never thought of it that way at all. So it's not a fact that I was running out of guests. What was happening is that I was losing relationships I had already built in. So it was around that 400 episode time. I kept looking at, and I didn't just start jumping into start coding. Now my background is UX developer, UI designer, meaning I built real live enterprise applications for massive corporations like FINRA, Dish Network, DoD, DOJ. And I'm building these enterprise applications to streamline their workflow. And 400 conversations in, I was like, you know what? I'm jumping through 5 to 6 to sometimes 10 different applications just to publish one episode. And guess what happens for the next one? You reset and you jump in. And it's a workflow. And that's one of the reasons why pod fade happens, because there's so much work for the host that's involved. Right? I'm a guest right now, and it's easy for me. And, from a host perspective, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I was like, I'm having all these issues, but maybe it's me problem. So I talked to over 100 podcast hosts to ask them, hey, are you feeling what I'm feeling? Like, are you going through these same motions that I'm going through? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay. And then I even talked to 15 agency owners that manage multiple podcasts. And as they're sharing this, and every single person had a different workflow, right? We find different tools. There's a lot of parallel tools. We have Discord, we have Slack, Facebook, all do the same thing, but they're different applications. So I started seeing that. Now the tipping point came when the same pain keep coming back from the people with nothing in common.
So it's the time of the month where we get together and share the clips of the podcasters featured in the Canadian Podcaster Online magazine for the month of July. We do this on the 15th of every month. We actually bring clips from the podcasters that we feature in the magazine right here into the audio space. So you can listen to a little sample of each of the shows. This is designed to promote these shows and bring more people to these shows. So you have the magazine, you have the links from the magazine, and now you can hear a portion of the podcast. My encouragement for everyone as podcasters is to create a trailer for your show and mark it as a trailer for your podcast. It could be a trailer for a new season of your show. It could be a trailer for the entire podcast as a whole. But a trailer is just something short, a minute, 2 minutes. We talk about this on the How to Podcast series, my other show that I do. A trailer is great because it lives at the top of the feed, and it's like it's a shareable soundbite for your audience to share with other people who might like your show without your knowledge. These are people who love what you do and want to tell somebody about you. To commit to a 1 hour listen of an episode is a big ask. So having a shareable trailer of your show, what is the show? What's it about? Who's it for? Any of that stuff would be great. And again, you can update your trailer as often as you want. It's not a one-time thing. So create a trailer. And when you upload it to your hosting site, make sure you mark it as a trailer, not as a bonus episode, not as a full episode, but a trailer. It lives at the top of the feed. And those trailers are really great for people like me, who are creating a podcast about you. And I want people to get a sense of the entirety of your show, not just that specific episode. A trailer works really well. So consider that. And if you need any help with that, howtopodcast.ca, it's my other website. Happy to help you anytime. There's a free calendar link there. You and I can talk about podcasting and grab a coffee together, and maybe it's a Timmy's order. Yeah, I'm 2 cream in mine. Thank you. Here's our podcasters for July. I hope you love it. Let's get into this. So our first podcast feature for July in the Canadian Podcaster Online magazine is Unlonely with Dr. Jody. She's here to help you. Dr. Jody sits down with world-class thought leaders to tackle the visceral reality of workplace burnout, nervous system regulation, and the anxiety of a digital age. And yeah, it's a great podcast, great guests, and Dr. Jody is here to help you. So if you're feeling a little bit lonely and you're like, I wish there was a podcast that helped me feel a little less lonely, well, here's your podcast. It's Unlonely with Dr. Jody. Here you go.
I am in awe to sit in front of you, Colonel. I cannot imagine what you've seen and experienced and felt in this body. And now you're translating this into what we need in the world of leadership the most these days. And you start anywhere you want. I'm going to give you the floor in terms of, like, as humans, what do we need to think about in positions of leadership right now? You give us the go, and I cannot wait to follow your lead on this, because what you've done in this lifetime, Dee Dee, is I'm in awe.
Oh, well, thank you. You're too kind. I might say that's my favorite beginning of a podcast ever. Where do I begin? Here's what I tell leaders right now. There is so much on our plate, right? There are so many demands on us, and so many demands during a time when there is no solid ground for us to stand on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that's being expected of us. And I tell them, in all of that expectations, you can't address what you can't see, meaning like the problems that are in your organization. You can't address what you can't see, but what you can't see is affecting everything you can. And so you have all of these heightened expectations for revenue, for profit, production timelines, everything. And you watch those almost psychotically, right? Like you're obsessed with the numbers of what's happening. And yet there's this undercurrent of emotion that is going on in our organizations, but our inability to tap into that space with a degree of confidence and comfort, our inability to tap into that space is actually making all this stuff over here we track a million times harder.
So there you go, a little taste of Unlonely with Dr. Jody. That's the edited version, just so you know, because we want to get into as many countries as possible. Dr. Jody's not edited. So if you want to hear that and the original state, then head over to Unlonely with Dr. Jody in the online magazine for Canadian podcasters in the month of July. There you go, a little taste of the show. Spicy, but fun. I love it. Thanks, Dr. Jody. Next, we're looking at 3 books with Neil. Neil's going to talk about 3 books, and I'm excited to hear about this. This is really fun. Here's a little taste of the show. I also have an author podcast called Living the Next Chapter, so I'm always interested in another format for an author podcast. So 3 books with Neil. 3 books is a completely insane and totally epic 22-year-long quest to uncover and discuss the 1,000 most formative books in the world. Each chapter discusses the 3 most formative books of one of the world's most inspiring people. There you go. That's a premise, right? I love that. So 3 books with Neil. Here we go. Are you ready? Here's a little bit from the show.
If you look at this world, especially with AI and with advances in biotechnology, it feels like the role of human belief is on the decline. There's this hunger for people to find meaning and belief that they don't know what to do with. We're comparing ourselves to people who have more when there's so many people who have so much less. Moments of awe, I feel like, are fleeting in adult life because we feel like we've seen everything, and I feel like we've lost it.
Hey everybody, this is Neil Pasricha, and welcome back to chapter 162 of 3 books. I'm so excited about this podcast chapter. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I think it was about 10, 12 years ago when I was invited to go to Abu Dhabi, of all places, to speak to the royal family. I was a new speaker at the time. I was like, I'll go whenever they want me. I'll stay till whenever they need me. I was there like a week. I was doing rehearsals. I was doing all these dinners. But there was this other speaker there, this rock star who like flew in, nailed the talk, basically handled all the questions for the Q&A. And then he took off. And I was like, who was that masked man? It was indeed the one and only Sean Achor, Achor. You might know Sean from his TED Talk, The Happy Secret of Better Work, which is no joke, one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time. He's probably best known for his book, The Happiness Advantage, but he's also written Big Potential, Before Happiness, and this brand new book, which I'm holding up if you're watching me on video, which I absolutely loved, called The Power of Beliefs.
So there you go. I love how Neil spells out his PODCAST, his podcast. I love that. That's really fun. There's a good podcast for you. If you love books and you love the theme of that, that's just an amazing theme. I love the idea behind the book. Then go check out Neil's show, 3 books. Also, now we're going to jump ahead to the video podcast show. This is done by Justin Jackson, a person that has been in podcasting a long time, creator, founder of Transistor.fm, and it's a hosting site for podcasters, and a lover of all things podcasting, including the shiny new object in the corner, video podcasting. And Justin Jackson, he explores how independent creators like you and me can use the gear that they already have to make video podcasts that work for both video viewers and audio listeners and take audiences places they could never go before. It's a video podcast show, very easy to remember. And one thing I love is Justin does an example of an audio book in video format, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't know about video because I don't have to do all this stuff. And he gives you a great example of what he did in his episode. So if you're looking for somebody who's not only talking about video podcasting, but demonstrating video podcasting, then Justin Jackson is your person. Go check out Video Podcast Show. Here is his first episode of this new podcast. Check it out. Here's Justin.
There's a lot of conversation right now about what a podcast is, what a podcast isn't. Personally, I've just been always excited to have an independent broadcast studio in my house. And that included making both audio and video podcasts. And lately, with Apple's new HLS video announcement and the fact that YouTube has gotten so big with podcasts and Spotify has gotten so big with podcasts, and also just watching how people interact with podcasts, often they'll have them on in the background, so they might not be watching the whole time. Sometimes they'll watch a little bit and then put it in their pocket and then just listen to the audio. Lots has changed. And one of the things I want to explore in this podcast, the Video Podcast Show, is how adding video to your podcast doesn't have to be a chore. And it doesn't have to be expensive either. Right now I'm using a relatively inexpensive webcam, but I've also invested in this, which is a nice Canon Mark II with a nice lens. But my point is you can do both. You can start making video podcasts with a webcam that you already have. And what excites me about this medium is that we can now take our audience places they could never go before. This doesn't have to be a big headache, like, oh no, I have to buy all of this equipment and it's going to be so difficult to edit. No, this is allowing us as creators to paint with a bigger palette of colors.
Here, I can do anything.
Let me show you. So right now I'm taking the webcam off and I can show you around my studio. Now the listener can't see this, but if they switch to the video version, they can see I'm in a very small room. I've been making video podcasts in this very small studio. It's about 80 square feet, not a lot of space. So if you've got a closet that's about this size, you too could be making engaging video podcasts. And they don't always have to be these fixed camera shots with a beautiful background, which is great. What people want now, especially in the age of AI and automation, is authenticity. They want to see your real workspace. They want to see your real life. They want you to bring them on adventures and get untethered from your desk. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can subscribe to the show wherever you get your video podcast. That includes Apple, HLS Video, Spotify, YouTube, and I'm also going to show you how you can make a video show that also sounds great and works as an audio podcast, even though the audio listener might not be able to see everything the video watcher sees. That doesn't mean that we can't still make podcasts for both audiences at the same time. I'm Justin Jackson. I'm the co-founder of Transistor.fm. We do podcast hosting for audio podcasts and video podcasts. You upload one video file to us, and we will distribute your episode as video to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, but we'll also transcode it to audio and distribute it to all of the podcast platforms that support audio podcasts. If this show sounds interesting to you, you can follow along by subscribing right in your podcast player, wherever you're watching or listening to this.
There you go. There's Justin Jackson for you. I'm going to be watching this one very carefully, Justin Jackson. I'm typically an audio podcast creator first because I have multiple shows and it's just me, just Dave. And I have 9 different shows and over 2,500 episodes in 7 years. So video for me is a little daunting as I look at it from the outside looking in, but I do see a lot of great things about video podcasting. So if that's where you are, that's your journey, that's what you're curious about, make sure you go check out Justin's show. Reach out to him too. I know he'd love to hear from you and walk you through it. There's also a great talk that he did at the podcast show in London with Jeremy Enns, which is coming up next. Jeremy's right next to this. And the two of them were talking about podcasting in video format and all that stuff is happening in Apple and on and on and on. And definitely go check out Justin. You'll love him. He's a great guy. And he's Canadian. So that's even better, right? So here, talking about Justin Enns, next up, he is the host of Killer Concept. And Killer Concept is the dark art of crafting category-winning podcasts. A killer concept is an easy-to-market and effortlessly attracts listeners, clients, customers, and sponsors, amplifying every hour and dollar you invest into marketing it. Killer Concept, and a podcast by Jeremy Enns. And here you go. This is Justin's cohort in life, his stunt double, Jeremy Enns. Here you go. Here's Jeremy.
What exactly makes a podcast grow? In every niche and on every topic, there are dozens, sometimes even hundreds of shows competing for a limited amount of listener attention. Many of these shows feature similar content, formats, and are hosted by people with similar levels of expertise. And yet, despite the similarities, there always seem to be 2 or 3 shows that rise to the top to dominate the consumption of the entire category. Beyond amassing the lion's share of the plays, these are the shows that rank highly in the charts and search results. They're the shows that get talked about and recommended by word of mouth. And they're able to attract better guests and collaboration partners. All of which creates a virtuous cycle that leads to even more discoverability, exposure, and growth. Oh, and they're also the shows that create the foundation to build a serious business on top of, either through client and customer acquisition, sponsorships, or both. In other words, it seriously pays to be one of these best-in-class shows. Which, of course, begs the all-important question. How do you become one of these shows? Take a look at any of the shows dominating their category or niche, and pretty quickly you'll see that many of these shows are hosted by celebrities. Others have the backing, budgets, teams, and distribution networks of major networks or brands, and of course, neither of these are things you can necessarily compete with. But there is another way. A way to create a show that commands attention, drives recommendations, and eats up market share in your space, all while doing less marketing. Best of all, it costs absolutely nothing but a little bit of creativity. The secret? Designing your show around a killer concept. In other words, packaging and presenting the core idea your show is built around in a way that listeners can't help but notice, become obsessed with, and share incessantly. A truly killer concept, the kind that stands out immediately from all other shows in your niche with a sharp, compelling hook, is inherently easy to market and amplifies the effectiveness of every hour and every dollar you put into marketing your show forever. A mediocre or generic concept, on the other hand, like most expert interviews, buddy chat casts, and thought leadership style solo shows, for example, those set you up for a lifetime of slogging uphill through mud with a lead weight around your ankle, no less, when it comes to your marketing. In other words, not the fate most of us want to sign ourselves up for. In short, getting your concept right is the single most highly leveraged marketing activity you will ever do for your show. And yet, almost no one ever talks about it, let alone teaches you how to do it. This is where this show comes in. Killer Concept is a podcast dedicated to the dark art of making insanely marketable shows. which in the world of podcasting is pretty much the only thing that matters for growth. In every episode, we'll start with a boring, generic topic, and then over the course of the episode, develop it into a must-listen show in its space. Along the way, you'll learn exactly what makes great concepts tick and how you can apply these principles to your own show to crank up your growth, make your show infinitely more attractive, and start seeing some real returns from your podcasting investment. The show is hosted and created by me, Jeremy Enns. I'm the founder of Podcast Marketing Academy, writer of the Scrappy Podcasting Newsletter, and creator of the Podcast Marketing Trends Report. Oh, and I also host 2 other shows on podcast marketing, Roast My Podcast and Podcast Marketing Trends Explained. To confirm your suspicions, yes, I am most certainly a nerd when it comes to this stuff. Over the past 10 years, I've helped my clients develop killer concepts across dozens of categories and topics. Over the course of this show, I'll pull back the curtain on my process for developing must-listen shows in the categories of business, marketing, creativity, travel, parenting, politics, midlife and aging, society and culture, comedy, geography, and much, much more. No topic is off limits, and our only goal is this. In every episode, develop a show concept that is more interesting, more listenable, and more shareable than the existing shows in the space. You can find Killer Concept on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you consume podcasts. I'm glad to have you here, and with that said, let's get building.
There you go, Jeremy Enns, another great Canadian, talking about podcasting. I love it. It's good stuff. Now, if you're a geek, people would say that I'm a geek because I talk about podcasting a lot. But if you're a geek, you know it, and people have probably told you that you are. There's a show called Two Geeks Talking, and it's a podcast just for you. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment interview show with over 1,000 interviews in comics, TV, film, music, and video game industries. And yeah, it's a great podcast, and it's very geeky, and you might just geek out over it. So here's Two Geeks Talking. Here's a little taste of the show. Here we go.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. Of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. I am very pleased to have this amazingly talented, multi-talented person on the show here today. She's an author, a singer, a painter, a beautiful painter, by the way, a dancer in one lifetime or a next, an actress, and I met her briefly at a film meet way back about a couple of weeks ago. I got to talk with her at great detail about a number of things, and it's with great pleasure that I have this amazing author on the show here today. She's, like I said, multi-talented, and I can't wait to dive into her amazing book, The Garden Tender's Cat. We're joined by the ever-talented L.A. Lockhart. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Kurt. How are you?
There you go. So that's Kurt Sasso on with his podcast. If you're a geek and you want to hear two geeks talking to each other, and I think it's meant in a loving and gentle way. Two Geeks Talking. There you go, Kurt. Thank you for a great podcast, and it's great to have you in the magazine this month. We also have Connecting the Community podcast. Discover the positive things happening in the community in and around Richmond Hill, Ontario. Now, I talk about this a lot on the show and in podcasting, that we as podcasters, there's a big need for local podcasts. Now, we're doing Canada with the magazine, which is awesome, and I love this magazine for that. But you can get right down to not only your province, to your city, and still have an amazing audience for a podcast that's so relevant to where you live. Another great example of that is Connecting the Community podcast. I think we need as many local podcasts as possible here in Canada, because it reflects who we are, where we are, the unique stories about the places we live. There's unlimited ability to tap into the local market where you are, have your own city businesses and organizations sponsor your show. There's just so much that you could tap into with a local podcast. So consider that. This is a great example of this. And if you need help setting up a podcast for your local community, reach out to me. Happy to help. CanadianPodcaster.com. Here is Connecting the Community podcast for Richmond Hill, Ontario, Canada. Here's a taste of the show. A local show, which we need way more of. Here's an example.
Welcome to another Connecting the Community podcast. I am Marge Andre, the host of this podcast, where I talk, for the most part, to people doing good things in and around Richmond Hill. On this podcast, I am talking with John Holland, and Grace Quincy about Opera York's upcoming performance as Pirates of Penzance. It will be on stage at the Richmond Hill Centre for the Performing Arts Thursday, July 16th and Friday, July 17th. Welcome, John and Grace.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, very glad that we've found the time between all your rehearsals and such for this production. Very much looking forward to this conversation. John, I've had the pleasure of having you as a guest several times in your role as the director of Chorus York. And last year, we did a podcast about Opera York's HMS Pinafore with both of you. Let's start with both of you talking about your musical, theatrical careers. Grace, you are a beautiful singer. What is your training?
Well, I've been studying classical voice since I was about 12 years old, but music comes from my family. It's always been a part of my family.
So there you go. If you know anybody that lives in Richmond Hill, Ontario, and they don't know about this show, if you live in Richmond Hill, Ontario, and you don't know about this show, please add this to your list of podcasts to listen to. This is homegrown. This is from your part of the world, and let other people know about this. If you know anybody there in that area of Richmond Hill, this is their new podcast to fall in love with. Please go support all of the local podcasts. If you have a local podcast, I want to feature you right here in the magazine. So let me know, please. I want to add you to upcoming episodes and editions of the Canadian Podcaster Online magazine. Local podcasts go to the top of the list because we need more of them. So consider that for your own show because it's a good thing. What about Art and Fiction? Art and Fiction is a podcast by Carol Cram. She chats with some of the top novelists featured on Art and Fiction, a curated online database of books inspired by the arts. So there we go. We're going right from the arts in Richmond Hill to the arts in authorship. It's Arts and Fiction podcast here on the Canadian Podcaster Online magazine. Here's Carol. Carol, take it away.
In the 1950s, Eve Arnold becomes the only woman Marilyn Monroe ever lets photograph her. And it's through Eve's lens that we meet the real Marilyn, a driven yet vulnerable woman who is nothing like the blonde bombshell the world thinks it knows. I'm Carol Cram, host of the Art and Fiction podcast, and today my guest is Lynn Cullen, author of When We Were Brilliant. Welcome to the Art and Fiction podcast, Lynn.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
Again, yes, this is our second time. The last time we chatted about Mrs. Poe and Twain's End. So this novel, When We Were Brilliant, is brilliant. I so enjoyed it. And it's told from the point of view of Eve Arnold, a photographer who I'd never heard of, but apparently she was a very famous photographer from the 1950s. So tell us about the genesis of this novel, about Eve Arnold and why you chose her and her relationship to Marilyn Monroe.
So there you go. Marilyn Monroe popularly came to Niagara Falls. A lot of photos of her around the falls where I live. So nice to see that conversation happen on Art and Fiction. And definitely check it out. Now, next is another one of my shows. I know, Dave, how many shows do you have? 9. I have the podcast editing and support show. Now, the idea behind the show was to connect podcast editors with podcast hosts, because I see online where podcast hosts are looking to connect with an editor and they're like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. And podcast editors are trying to find these hosts going, I want to build a business, but I don't know how to build this. I don't know how to start this. So I created the podcast editing and support show. That's the whole idea. I want to connect editors with hosts and hosts with editors. We talk about job descriptions. We talk about how much to pay somebody. We talk about how to be a better support to your podcaster as an editor. We cover it all. So if you edit for people, if you want to edit for people, if you're a podcaster looking for an editor, here's a podcast designed to connect the dots for you and help you out. It's podcasteditingandsupport.com is the website. It's the podcast editing and support show hosted by yours truly. Here we go. Here's a little taste of one of my other shows, Podcast Editing and Support Show. Go check it out. Hey, welcome to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Yeah, hey, we're here. Hey, this is the new podcast. For all things podcast editing, you want to be an editor? You need an editor? Hey, this is the podcast for you. You're just looking for support. You're looking for somebody not sure how to do all this stuff. It's a lot of technology. I want to hire somebody. I want to hit record and know that somebody's going to take care of everything. That you? Maybe just looking to grow as an editor. You want to meet other editors just like you? This is the show for you. So this is the podcast editing and support show. My name is Dave. I host 8 podcasts, and I love helping podcasters. Whether you need to hire a podcast editor or you want to learn how to become a podcast editor, we're going to be talking about all things podcast editing. Find an editor, be an editor. This is the podcast editing and support show. Let's go. So there you go. That's an example of a trailer, by the way. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but that's how short it can be. And that's something shareable that you can share with other people. So instead of an episode, it is a trailer. Treat it differently. It's got a different purpose for a different reason, for a different audience. And it's great for your audience to be able to share a trailer with their friends about your show. Make it easy. Create a podcast trailer if you don't know how to do that. howtopodcast.ca, canadianpodcaster.com. Any of these things will bring right back to me, just to Dave. And I'll help you build your trailer for your show and how to load it properly so it lives at the top of your podcast. It doesn't matter if you have 2 episodes, 20 episodes, or 2,000 episodes. It'll always sit at the top of the list waiting for somebody to share your show with their friends. Podcast trailers are great. And if you're looking for an editor, happy to help. If you are an editor looking for hosts, I know people who are looking for you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Reach out to me anytime. That's a podcast editing and support show. Now, if you could put money in a bank, a little piggy bank, a little cute little piggy bank, it's the Great Canadian Piggy Bank. Most Canadian parents want to teach their kids about money, but don't always know where to start. It's the Great Canadian Piggy Bank. Yeah, and you can throw all your toonies and loonies, all that stuff in there. Here's a little taste. Let's invest in ourselves, everyone, and check out the Great Canadian Piggy Bank. Here we go.
Welcome to the Great Canadian Piggy Bank, helping Canadian parents raise money-smart kids. It's tax season, and so today we're going to talk about taxes, but not just how to file them. We're going to be looking at how the tax system actually shows up across the different stages of raising kids. I'm joined today by Adrian Barr, also known as Canadian in T-shirt, who's known for breaking down Canadian taxes in a way that makes sense. And today he's going to help parents understand how to use the system instead of just reacting to it. Welcome, Adrian.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy, for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about taxes, especially right now. Tax season is right around the corner.
Okay, so the first phase, when they're young kids.
Yes.
So I've heard about this double dip that you can do. How can an RSP contribution lower your taxes and increase monthly Canadian child benefits?
Just to make sure everyone's on the same page, we're talking about the CCB double dipping. And the reason why it's called double dipping is because it's a really cool strategy that allows you to maximize the free monthly income you would get from the Canada Child Benefit Program, which is a program everyone gets if you have children. Combine that with RSP tax deductions and a tax refund. And this can be a really powerful strategy if you use it the right way. The absolute maximum you could get if you have a child in Canada is $8,000, depending on their age, how many children you have, and your income. But the income is the main deciding factor. Because if you are at a certain income threshold, this year it's $81,000, now you have CCB clawback, meaning that you're going to get reduced by a percentage amount for any amount above that threshold. That's where the RSP double dipping strategy can come in, because with the RSP, if you put in $10,000 into your RSP retirement plan.
There you go. So there you go. Let's throw all your change into that piggy bank and it'll all make sense. Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. It'll all make sense in the end. The next and last podcast for July 2026, featured in the Canadian Podcaster online magazine at canadianpodcaster.com. It's a lot of things to say in one sentence. Is Seeds of Hope, based in British Columbia, one of the most beautiful provinces in the world. Don't come at me. I love it. It's beautiful there. Seeds of Hope. It's a climate storytelling podcast. Changemakers remind us of the many ways climate shapes our past, present, and future. There's hope out there, and all it takes is one little seed. And this is the Seeds of Hope podcast. Here we go.
Seeds of Hope is a podcast created on the Lekwungen territory, represented today by Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. We feature special edition episodes at Shianu territory and shared Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh land. As uninvited guests, we hold with immense gratitude and respect the privilege it is to share and cultivate a climate-conscious community here on what we colonially refer to as Vancouver Island. Hi, I'm your host, Claire Marshall, and welcome to the Seeds of Hope Climate Storytelling Podcast. I'm going around my community to chat with folks who are passionate about all things climate, from advocating for more sustainable environmental practices to enhancing well-being through arts-based activities. In today's episode, we're joined by Nicole Van Zutphen, a photographer and documentary filmmaker, and the communications manager at Raincoast Conservation Foundation. Her work tells visual stories that inspire wonder for BC's wildlife and highlights the urgency of protecting it.
Hello. Hi. How's it going? So well. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for joining us on the Seeds of Hope Climate Storytelling Podcast. You're our last guest on this podcast series. I'm honored. That's really wild. That's really crazy. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about who we're chatting with today?
Yeah. Heck yeah. My name's Nicole Van Zutphen. Hi.
Hi.
So happy to be here. I like to say that I'm a science communicator, storyteller, photographer, videographer.
So there you go. If you want to be the change you want to see in the world, then go check out Seeds of Hope and check out this great podcast around all things around our planet and this beautiful country that we have here in Canada. It's a great podcast, everybody. Go check it out. If you want to be featured in the next magazine, which I'm already building right now in the middle of July for August, then submit now. Let me know about your show. If you haven't been already featured in the magazine, please come check us out. We'd love to feature you. And we're always looking for feedback for the show as well. And for the magazine, CanadianPodcaster.com. There's a SpeakPipe link right there for you. There's a SpeakPipe link in the show notes here for you as a listener of the podcast. We would love to be able to connect with you, hear your feedback, for you to share your stories. And we're, again, always looking for writers, people who are podcasting, who have podcast adjacent businesses. Then we'd love to feature you. And when we find a great tool, it's always fun to shine a light on it. So we can do ads here as well. I'm not looking to make money with the magazine at this point. I just want to help people like you and businesses like you. So we can do an ad just like this one coming up for PodGlue for whatever you're doing. So record it, send it to me, and I'll put you into the audio magazine. We'll even put a link and a page in the magazine for you as well. We want to support people who are helping podcasters. So here's an ad for PodGlue, which you heard earlier, but here's an ad for the same service again. And you could put your ad right here in the magazine and on the podcast simply by reaching out to me at CanadianPodcaster.com. Again, this is my online friend, my podcasting buddy, Junaid Ahmed, and this new tool, PodGlue. Here's a sample ad, which could be your ad. If you send it to me, here's Junaid's PodGlue. Here's an ad for his business.
You recorded a great episode. Then momentum resets to 0. Files in one app, tasks in another, guest follow-up somewhere else, promotion buried in tabs. That is how PodFade starts. PodGlue is the podcaster's operating system. One workspace for creation, planning, growth, and guest relationships. Import your RSS feed, pull in your episodes, and turn each one into a living asset with transcripts, social copy, and launch-ready materials. No more tool sprawl, no more broken handoffs. PodGlue is the vehicle. Relationships are the engine. Stop letting disconnected tools kill your momentum. Join the waitlist at podglue.com.
So there you go. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being part of the magazine for July. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy and strong and that Canada is treating you well. For all of our listeners around the world who listen to the show and read the magazine from wherever you are, thank you so much for supporting this magazine. Again, I'm always looking for contributors, people to support the magazine by writing, submitting your business that you do to help other creatives. I want this magazine to reflect Canada. So more opinions, more perspective, more thoughtful articles and opinion pieces around Canadian content, then definitely reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Also, always support Katie over at Pod the North, another great newsletter for Canadian podcasters. And she's doing so much out there in the space to help not only encourage podcasters, but bring money into Canadian podcasters' pockets as well. She's on a mission, and we support her 100%. She's a great human being, and Pod the North is something you definitely need to check out. And go check out and sign up today and support Katie. If you can even do a paid support for her over there on Substack, I know she'd appreciate that. But Pod the North is another great podcast. Newsletter out there to help Canadian voices as well. Katie, thanks for all you do. Pod the North, everybody. Link in the show notes. Let's meet back here in August. August 1st? What do you think? You and I? Can we get together on August 1st? Yeah, because there'll be a new magazine out. And we'll be talking all things Canadian podcasting, as always. I can't wait to share the next batch of great creators here in Canada with you. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for being part of the magazine, and your support means so much. Take care. Keep podcasting, everybody. Don't give up on summer, right? And also don't podcast all summer and give up on summer. Get out there and spend some time enjoying our great Canadian country and all the things we have to offer here in Canada, because summer is short in Canada, and it's only just going to come up around the corner that fall's just coming up. So please get out there and enjoy your summer. Take care. See you in August.
Click in, plug in, press play. Hey! Stories from the North today with a Canadian podcast.